Hi all, welcome back. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about testosterone and whether or not we can boost it, what we could take or what we could do to help with our levels. So normally I stay well clear of testosterone supplements, but there's actually a couple of supplements that have come up that I've seen that I'm going to try. I did try quite a lot many years ago in fact. But there's some evidence coming out from what looks like fairly reliable sources, and I'm going to talk a bit about that, and I'll put a link up to what I'm going to try down below, and we'll maybe see what it's like together, and I'll report back on my findings. So testosterone, it's important obviously because it's one of the essential hormones in terms of building muscle, and for males and females it's one of the essential hormones in terms of elevating mood and that get up and go feeling, that being energized, wanting to go and do things that are positive things like going to the gym and just getting stuff done. So it's very important. It's not just about building muscle, it's about actually having the type of mood that you need to go and get to the gym in the first place. So optimizing your testosterone levels for males and females can make the difference between laying around at home, finishing work, you feel absolutely worn out, you've got no motivation, you don't want to go out anywhere, you don't want to do anything, even cooking dinner seems like a real drag. And some of us get that, in middle age, or if women are going through menopause and the hormones are going all over the place, that can be a side effect of that. For males, we go through a sort of elongated menopause after the age of 35 and 40. Our testosterone levels start to decline, and certainly a lot of males report feeling things like low energy, low motivation, no drive. They haven't got that sort of get up and go that they used to have as teenagers. And then things get more serious where they are saying they lack libido, for example, so their relationship might be severely suffering. And in serious cases, if you've got really low testosterone, that can lead to muscle loss, fat gain, and low testosterone can happen through genetics. It can also happen through aging, and it can happen through lifestyle. So funnily enough, if you're sedentary and you don't take exercise and you're not having regular sexual activity, all those things can be adding to the fact that you're going to have lower and lower testosterone. So that can become like a vicious cycle. And that's probably something that many of us middle-aged people may have experienced, at least some of those side effects, or maybe even all of them. So what can we do to sort that out? Well, for both males and females, what we can do is eat a really healthy diet. Make sure you've got all your nutritional bases covered. A diet that's got a wide variety of nutrients and phytonutrients in it, as well as obviously your proteins, fats and carbs. And one of the things that's important in that is actually cholesterol and animal-based fats, which I know, plant-based people don't like the sound of that. But the fact of the matter is that plays a vital role in the production of testosterone in the body and other hormones as well. So if you're avoiding all animal fats, a bit like they were talking about a few years ago, don't have any animal fats at all, eradicate butter and all this kind of thing, you might be sending your testosterone levels crashing through the floor. That's not to say that you should be over consuming those things and eating nothing but meat, but certainly a small amount of meat in your diet and red meat and fatty meat is not a bad thing for hormone levels. Exercise helps, so you should get a good degree of exercise. We've been talking about doing cardio every day. I wouldn't go too mad on the cardio, because we also know that people that do really elongated cardio, like marathon runners and long distance, people that are becoming obsessed with cardio and addicted to it, they can really struggle with testosterone levels, and because they're overtraining basically, so their bodies are just declining in many different facets, but hormonally is just one of those. And then weightlifting specifically can really help with testosterone levels. You know, there's been lots of studies showing things like doing squats and deadlifts and some of those compound moves, you know, have a boost to testosterone levels, have a boost to growth hormone levels as well. So it's excellent to do some of that. But even with weightlifting, overtraining has been shown again to decline those levels. So that goes back to people talking about, oh, I want to train 3 or 4 times a week, you know, the same body part, I'm going to do 3 times the amount of training. That's one of the reasons you're going to have adverse effects, and you're not going to grow more muscle by doing 2 or 3 times the amount of training, because your testosterone levels are going to suffer. You're overtraining, your body just can't keep up. So one of the most obvious things people talk about with testosterone is, of course, the ways that you can take something to increase your testosterone levels. So the elephant in the room is obviously, you know, people can take steroids and related substances, anabolics, and that is in itself, it is testosterone or derivatives of testosterone. And I'm not saying that people should do that, and I'm not saying people shouldn't do it. You know, it's not something that I'm going to talk about on this channel. That's not what we're all about. So if people are going to do that, fine. You know, go and get doctor's advice, go and get some blood work, and do that as part of a, you know, a medically determined situation with a HRT clinic or a TRT clinic, something like that. Then we start getting into a grey area, because there's something that a lot of the young people are talking about, which is called SARMs. And SARMs are basically research chemicals. They're branded as research chemicals to get round the law. So they say not for human consumption, etc. They're openly sold on the internet in, you know, sort of slightly grey area web shops. And a lot of the teenagers are jumping on these things because they assume that because they're openly sold, that they must be safer than steroids. Well, that isn't the case at all. In fact, SARMs may be even more dangerous than steroids, because at least with steroids, you have many, many years of medical use that you can look back over, and the doctors and scientists know very well the pluses and minuses of steroids, you know, the pros and cons, and they know maybe how to mitigate those and how to minimize that risk. With SARMs, it's a bit like people that were making all these different recreational drugs to get around the law. So they would take a recreational drug, chemically alter it slightly, and then release this chemically altered version, which I think a lot of people were calling bath salts, and there's various different names for it. But those were just chemically altered versions of the drug that already existed. So it would get around the law, if you like, but it didn't mean it was necessarily safe just because it could be openly sold. And this is exactly that situation, but with steroids. So they're basically altering what already exists slightly differently, and then releasing that as a research chemical and saying don't consume it. And of course people are consuming it. So I would steer way clear of that, because we have absolutely no idea what those chemicals are doing to the body. Yes, apparently they work. You know, there's pretty much no doubt that most of them work, but also we already know that a lot of them are severely liver toxic, and they may have toxicity in other areas of the body, and they may have unknown effects in other areas of the body. We don't know if they promote cancer growth or anything like that, or what they're going to do to people in 10 or 20 years time. We at least know what steroids are going to do to people in 10 or 20 years time, because they've been in use for, you know, way longer than that. They've been in use way back sort of 60 years. So we know exactly what happens with those, and I would suggest not jumping on this SARMs trend at the moment. Then after that, we get into the kind of vitamin type supplements and some of the more exotic vitamins and plant extracts, etc. So there's a few of those that have been popular in the past and are popular again now. I remember when I was younger, we were all talking about ecdysterone and these various sort of insect steroids, they were called, you know, but what they were actually was substances that plants release that have anabolic like effects on the insects and the things that were eating these plants. And they were thought to work on humans, but not because there'd been any human studies. It was simply anecdotal, like, well, if they put, if they make that insect grow, then surely that will make me grow. And that's a mistake a lot of people make reading studies. Commonly it happens in rat studies. People say, well, it made rats bigger, so it will make me bigger. It boosted their testosterone, so it will boost mine. We're not rats, and there can be sometimes comparisons drawn, but you can't draw direct correlation like that. You have to have studies which focus on human subjects as well to actually define whether that thing will work or not. Then there were things like tribulus and all these sort of exotic plant-based things, normally from plants that are sourced, in the middle of the Amazon rainforest. There's always some mysterious story which makes it seem like it might work and it might seem a bit more exciting. So I've tried loads of those when I was younger, and to be honest, I didn't find anything that worked, as they said it would work. There may have been at the time a bit of a sort of effect of me thinking it might work for a couple of weeks, but it certainly didn't have any long-term effect. You might get a placebo effect off it. So fast forward to today. I watched quite a bit of a guy called Andrew Huberman, who's a neuroscientist, and he's a serious scientist, a very, very knowledgeable guy. I've got an immense amount of respect for that guy. His podcasts are really worth a listen. I'll stick a link down below. But he is a legit scientist. There's no doubt about that. You can check into his qualifications, his history, etc., etc. He checks out. And I was very surprised to find that he mentioned two of these quite exotic substances, plant-based substances that he believes absolutely boost testosterone levels. And not massively, we're not talking sort of androgenic steroid-like effects. We're talking a boost that's definitely worth having, especially if you're middle-aged and upwards. But for the fact that he doesn't appear to think that they have really any serious negative effects. They don't appear to be liver toxic. They don't appear to be neurotoxic. They don't appear to have any significant cardiovascular negative effect. And they were raising test levels by, say, 200 or 300 points on the blood work, which is, pretty decent. And especially if you're lacking as an older man, that is a significant benefit. So the two things that he was talking about, one was called Phaedogia agrestis, I think it was, which was a plant-based vitamin supplement. And the other one was Tongkat UK. And I'll put links down below. I'll put links to the ones I'm going to purchase. So I'm going to do a bit of an experiment. At the moment, I'm just taking creatine. I take that on and off because there's quite a lot of info out there that suggests that creatine works. It doesn't work anywhere near the amount people think it does. It doesn't put like 10 pounds of muscle on you in 2 months or anything like that. But it might give you like a 0.5% advantage over someone who's not on it if you're training really hard. So I'm on a good diet. I'm just started on like a bulking cycle, so I've just added calories to my diet. So I'm now intaking about 3,200 calories. I'm weighing in at just under 90 kilos, about 89.5 kilos. So I'm going to start taking these substances in the amounts that Mr. Huberman suggests. So I think he suggests 400 milligrams for the Phaedogia and 600 milligrams for the Tongkat. I'm pretty sure I got that the right way around. I'm going to take those in the amounts he suggests, and then I'm just going to keep on training, keep on trucking, see how I go. I've been training long enough now, I know my body well enough to know if I'm going to seriously get anything out of that or not. And I certainly know, if you're going to get a boost in testosterone and I start feeling a lot better in the mornings and I've got that sort of get up and go, I'm pretty good anyway. I think the training helps a lot. A good diet helps a lot. But if I notice any differences in that kind of thing at all, I'll certainly be sticking that up. I don't have any libido issues, to be honest, but if I notice anything in that, I'll talk about that as well, and I'll be completely honest. And if I get nothing at all from it, I'll give you guys that feedback as well. Normally, I wouldn't touch these things with a barge pole, but I do think it'll make interesting viewing on the channel. A lot of people are interested in boosting testosterone levels, and I think that the main thing that got me into this was the fact that this guy that I have a lot of respect for and I have a lot of time to listen to, you know, he's never come out with anything like this before. He doesn't appear to be tied into the supplement industry. I know there's been some deep fakes of him lately, and they've actually been deep faking him talking about various other supplements, but I've triple checked this info. He appeared on a few different podcasts talking about it. He appeared on the Mark Bell podcast. Mark Bell's a lifter and a pretty sensible guy. He appeared on Joe Rogan, which sometimes Rogan has some crazy people on, a bit tin hat, but you know, most of the time he's asking pretty sensible questions, and certainly checking into Huberman, he's a legit source of information. So let's see what happens. I'll be totally honest, the stuff doesn't cost a fortune. You know, I think it's sort of about £15 for one and £15 for the other. So it's not cheap, but it is certainly not crazy expensive. And there are companies out there that are trying to make stupid money out of this stuff. So I'll buy something that's got good recommendations, that's kind of middle of the road cost wise, and I'll report back and see how we go. Thanks a lot, guys. Take care, stay safe, see you soon.